Social media is making you dumber, respectfully. Now, here's a short little survival guide. Step number 1. Check your phone, but like every 5 seconds. And never let your brain rest, basically. Step number 2. Only read headlines. And then feel like you just earned yourself a PhD because, well, you now know everything about the topic. Number 3 is to post absolutely every viral post. Critical thinking is completely overrated anyways. So, this is a bit of an interesting topic here. So, the problem is that people are now more and more used to having technology around them at all times. And don't get me wrong, I think there are great upsides to social media, but this is not what this video is about. So, most people say they have the attention span of a goldfish. Now, the attention span of a goldfish is around 9 seconds on average. The attention span of a human living in the 21st century is 8 seconds. So no, a goldfish probably has a better retention span than you do. And me, I'm also a lot on social media, I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. But in this video, we look at how it's affecting us and what we can do about it to kind of get out of this vicious circle. Your brain was not made to process 200 TikToks and 50 memes. The problem is, if you are scrolling all the time, you're retaining a lot of that information, but none of it is like deep information. So therefore, you can focus on other things. There are so many people who don't even know their own phone number, and yeah, if you can't even remember simple stuff, then how are you supposed to go through life? Also, and this is a very important point, social media is stealing your time and energy. So your brain is your biggest moneymaker. It's there for your creative ideas. If you are in the flow and the longer you focus on something, the more successful you become at it. But let me ask you this. If it's robbing you of your ability to stick at something for long, then there's nothing. You're losing money because you're on social media all the time. So it's better to create, put your phone aside, and do something instead of just scrolling. Because the more you scroll, the more brain cells you lose. Ever wondered why you feel so tired and lonely, and maybe you have anxiety and depression now? No, this is because social media. This is basically the answer to all the bad things in the world. It's not, but it has something to do with that. Now, doom scrolling increases stress hormones. So those negatively impact memory and focus. So if you're ever wondering why you're a bit dizzy throughout the day, like why did I forget my keys? How come I forgot about this appointment? It's because your mind is already so overstimulated and you can't focus on a lot of things because you're on your phone so much. So that's a bit difficult, and I realized that I kind of sound like a mom. Being like, don't go, stop using your phone, but it's true in a way. Moms have a point. Now, there's also the thing that constant notifications are overstimulating our brains and it reduces deep thinking abilities. Now, if we are confronted with so much short-term information, we are not engaging with it. So it's just bombarding our brains, but then there is no real substance behind it. Do you know the feeling when you're not on your phone and then you feel like it's vibrating, or that you heard the ding sound? If you're guilty of that, then that's probably a sign that you are in fact addicted to your phone. Now, what this means is that you've become a victim of this. I'm sorry. So the thing is, most of us are in fact addicted, and the way our brain, our social media and the algorithms work is to get you hooked. So it kind of works like a slot machine when you gamble, and it knows when you release dopamine. So the algorithm is super smart in giving you the information that knows is interesting to you. And so its aim is to get you hooked as long as possible. You have to think critically. Who is profiting from this? It's the big tech companies, because they know the longer they keep you, the more money that makes. So really, you are making other people a lot richer, while they are stealing your precious time and energy, which really is the only thing you have while you're alive. So that's something to really consider. I've said this in another video before, but big tech companies, the CEOs, they are kind of like big mafia bosses in the sense that they don't let their children use social media or devices because they know how addictive they are. Same goes for mafia bosses who don't let their kids take the drugs because they know how bad it is and how much money they make, because they already got so many people being addicted to this. So really, Do you want to be the person that falls into this trap? I don't want to be anymore. Short content form and videos such as TikTok are the worst thing you can do to your brain. That is because it makes deep learning almost impossible. If you get your brain wired to this, you will not retain information as easily anymore. So RIP memory and learning abilities. There's also the so-called Google effect. Now I'm reading this here. The Google effect means that you rely on search engines so much that you yourself don't feel the need to learn or study anything anymore, because you have it right there on your little device. You can just, Google how many how many bones do we have in our bodies, and you will never need to retain this information, because if you needed to tell it to someone else, you will just Google it once again. Now, I'm not an expert, but I would say that people who lived and were already grown up before the digital decade were smarter in a way, because they couldn't rely on it. For example, when they had to use actual real physical maps, they had to focus where it would go next, instead of a little device telling them, okay, now you have to turn left. And don't get me wrong, I'm super grateful for having Google Maps on my phone, because I would be lost otherwise. But then again, it made the connections in your brain a lot stronger. Now, a different way in which social media is actually making you dumber is so we already talked about how it's addictive. Now, a lot of people, especially those who go to bed with their phones, don't get proper sleep because they are so distracted. Now, if you develop a horrible sleep pattern, that means that you will also, that your cognitive abilities will get worse. So this is something to consider. It's making you more stupid. So then there's also the thing that we are just mentally not prepared for this. You know how many people are saying we are now more anxious, more depressed, and all because of social media? Yeah, no shit. Of course we are, because we see other people doing great stuff, which is their highlight reel. No one posts like a breakdown video of them. Actually, some people do, but it's still very much their best side, and so this leads to unhappiness. And then also it's so unreal. So if you think that there is no real human interaction, right? And so when you see someone in real life and you have those negative, intrusive thoughts, you keep them to yourself. But on the internet, you are more prone to type out what negative thing you are saying. So it also leads to reduced empathy, which is what makes us human and connect to the world. I'm also pretty sure that's why politically we are so polarized, because there are just those extreme opinions now, and the algorithm knows where to place you, and so there are no real conversations anymore, because it's just too extreme, and it's so easy to just, like I said, read a title and be like, yes, I know everything about it, instead of critically engaging with it. So what are the suggestions? See, it already affected me. My speech is all fucked up. So what can we do? We should all take social media detoxes. If you are on vacation, leave your phone and tell your friends and family that you can't be reached unless it's an emergency. So that's a great way. Read a book, I don't know, or read the newspapers or whatever, but just don't rely on information that you've read on the internet. Resist the urge to Google everything. I'm super guilty of that, and I'm not saying you should use ChatGPT as an alternative, but if you are curious about a topic, don't just Google, but again, buy a book on this, or speak to other people and try to talk about this specific thing you're interested in, learn from others. Then have a full conversation without checking your phone. I'm begging you. I think there is nothing that's more rude than just talking to someone and then they are just scrolling like, no. And then stop doom scrolling before bed. So yeah, your sleep cycle will definitely 100% thank you. And yeah, there's another study that I'd like to read out to you. So a 2021 study from the University of Bath, I don't know where that is, found that that people who quit social media for just 1 week reported improved memory, focus, and mood. So if that is actually true, please come back and let me know if you actually experience positive side effects. I will do the same, of course. I'm not just preaching this, but I'm actually going to do it. And that's pretty much it. Set screen time limits, prioritize real life, and just go outside, speak to real people. That's it. Bye.